Howdy, 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 everybody, and welcome to Thespian Talk. I am your host, Gomer the Ranting Thespian, and we're going to do a little bit something different this week. I was debating whether to put this out as a special or as just a full episode. You'll see the title, you'll know what I eventually ended up doing. So this one's a different one. It also falls into the idea of me wanting to experiment with formats a little bit as well towards the end of the show. And this one is basically just all Michelle and Ricky talking about the recent UK politics. I think at this point, it was Prime Minister, what's her name, who lasted only 45 days in office, and because she fucked up their economy, which is how I understand it. It's like a week or two later than that because there was files that needed to get to me that couldn't get to me, and of course I was also on the road. Um, but yeah, I might see if Scully wants to do like a little thing towards the end. But I'm looking at the files right now, and they're like almost an hour and a half. So, just the two of them. So they're gonna take up the bulk of this episode. Um, but we'll figure all that out as time goes on. Um, yeah. So hopefully the next episode, which I think is going to be the penultimate episode, if I've got my numbering right. Unless I just make this a special, but you'll know by the time we get it up there. I am hoping I'm probably gonna make sure I poke him and ask him before this goes up about Eli the cartoon hero coming onto an episode and finally having his guest spot. I have been so bad about that. Oh lordy. But yeah, so again, like I said, the bulk of this episode is going to be Michelle and Ricky. They're going to be giving their thoughts. They're in the UK, so of course, they would have more of a thought about it than either Scully or I would. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that, and enjoy Michelle taking my opening bit. I honestly don't mind. It's good. It's all good. Um, so yeah, I'll pop back in here at the end to do a little bit of an ending bit, and I'll see you then. Enjoy.
Howdy, 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 and welcome to Thespian Talk. And I am not your host, Gomer the Ranting Thespian, but indeed I am one of your co-hosts, Michelle, and joining me is Ricky, because we decided everything's a mess and we need to talk about it.
Especially over here in the UK.
We haven't got a title yet. We'll probably discuss that later, but I'm thinking, we don't know either.
Yes, it's your two resident Thespian Talk limeys today.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, I have invited Ricky on to discuss, and when I floated the idea, I was like, "Yeah, have at, go for it, have fun." So we are here, we are acting, and hopefully we're going to have fun. Also, I have obviously done an introduction. I don't know if Gomer's going to put anything on the top and tail. Do what you want. But yes, this is the show that we are doing right now. So since I introduced the show, do you want to introduce... I mean, we have a main topic. I've got a couple of other things I want to... Should be quicker discussions, but we definitely have a main topic. Would you like to do the introduction on the main topic?
Yes, I'm just trying to find the link you sent me. It has vanished out of my thing where I'd saved it, so I'm having to find it in the chat as best I can. Flipping things.
We don't have to refer to the video because it is the news.
It is, yes. Yeah. Yeah, the UK now has its shortest ever tenured Prime Minister, with Liz Truss having stepped down after only 44 days in office.
Which beats the previous by 75 days.
Yes.
George Canning, sorry, I believe was also a Tory, died in office. So, and there was an article where I was double checking the spelling and everything, that lists some other more recent PMs and why they left. But I think dying in office is valid.
Yes.
I think it was like anemia or something, because he's like at least a couple of centuries removed now, so yeah.
Yes, that's...
Yeah.
I mean,
That's-
you could make
and,
I was going to say you could make an argument that Liz Truss did indeed die in office, just not physically die in office.
We're going to talk about the letters because that's hilarious. But I know you're not on you know, I know you don't do the Twitters. But there is an account which is, if you ever do decide to venture onto Twitter, it's called British Problems,
Oh yes.
and it's great because it is what you think it is, and it's hilarious. And they had a question of the day was like, what's lasted longer than Liz Truss's premiership? And there were some good answers, but the one that hadn't occurred to me until I read it is her leadership race. The leadership race was 55 days.
Good grief.
So I did send you a couple of video links. That's kind of what I'm gonna maybe be referring to. But thoughts? Just like, if you haven't had a chance to watch the videos, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
They're all from TLDR, which I do recommend as a network of channels. Because you know a lot. You get some good stuff from them.
Yes.
But thoughts, reactions.
I don't think there's been a prime minister in living memory, not just in mine or yours, but I think even in my parents or my auntie, that has gone this bad this quickly. I mean, she didn't even get out the box before she basically put the gun to her own head and pulled the trigger.
Now, I originally, so we're filming this, it's Friday the 21st of October, happy Back to the Future Day, and I originally floated this idea to you. So basically, the timeline is, I saw one video, it was like, you know, what the hell is going on with Liz Truss. I didn't worry about it. I was hanging out with Erin for a little while, and I was chatting with Erin afterwards. It's like, looking at this thread, of like, oh, she's actually gone. It wasn't just like a jokey question. It was like, no, she's actually gone.
Yes.
And then there was another video that was a follow up. It was like, it kind of happened that quick. Now, as it turns out, it actually happened earlier in the day. I just didn't know about it yet. And it was just like, wow. Yeah, I had a thought, but it kind of went for a walk. It's because she because it was about because the video was like about like all the stuff going on with the whip, with like all the things. So for those of you who don't know, the way the debates and kind of things work is you've got the parliament, you see people like sitting either side of the benches and that they have the debate, and you have the vote. So you say, okay, now we've had this discussion, let's have the vote. And if there's very audible yay or a very audible nay, then they declare that, okay, everyone agrees, that's cool. What more often happens is you get a division, which hasn't been quite the same since Burko left, but they all, run out of the room, and there's two rooms, one side of each of the area. One is the yes, I agree with this thing, and one is the no, I do not agree with this thing. And apparently, because it was a vote on fracking put forward by the Labour Party, which, by all accounts, most Tories don't actually agree with, because most of their constituents don't agree with it, because it affects their lifestyles and their back gardens and stuff. So yeah, the idea is you should have a free vote. You go into the room. There's a thing called the whip, which is a bit more complicated. We'll get to in a second. But basically, apparently, people were being physically shoved into the room that Liz wanted, and that has caused a bit of fracas.
Yes, it was described in one newspaper, or I can't remember if it was a newspaper or radio thing I was listening to. Basically described as basically a brawl in the Commons almost.
Yeah. And there was an idea that someone quit. We weren't sure if they actually quit or just walked out and got some fresh air to calm themselves down, but there was definitely some effing and jeffing going on. So that was fun.
Allegedly,
It's a lot
someone.
of Braverman.
Allegedly, someone
Yeah.
called Liz Truss a cunt.
That's not allegedly. It's probably what happened in the house. But, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm fairly certain Russell Howard did it.
Yes, allegedly one of her own MPs called her that.
But yes, that is, generally speaking, quite seriously, because even, and this is what, I mean, I don't watch the parliamentary debates very often, but when I see clips of them, they are kind of hilarious, because it is the most British thing ever. It's like, even if you don't like it, it's like the most Britishly passive-aggressive, oh yes, well, the right honourable person over that side is like, as they well know, like, they're insulting each other, but they have to do it in such a polite way.
Yes.
It's kind of brilliant.
It
is
is
kind of brilliant. But that is. So yeah, and the whip is basically if I'm misremembering, it's basically you can stay in Parliament, but you're not necessarily associated with the party anymore. And you could possibly lose your seat.
Yes.
I can't.
I'm just looking it up now for you.
Thank you.
But it is.
It's not necessary. It's not a good thing to lose. You don't want to lose the whip. That is the main thing.
No. Whips are MPs or lords appointed by each party in Parliament to help organise their party's contribution to parliamentary businesses. And one of their main responsibilities is to make sure the maximum number of their party members vote, and vote the way the party wants.
Yeah, but then individual party members could also lose their whip.
Yes, exactly.
As they're standing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've just looked a bit further down. Members who vote against party policy may lose a whip, which effectively means they're expelled from the party, even though they're still in the party.
So yeah, you don't want to lose the whip, because then you could risk losing your position. Even if you have if you survive your local election, you may not necessarily be a representative of that party anymore. It's not a good thing.
No.
And they also made it a confidence vote, which I don't know if you ever watched A Different Bias. That's quite a fun one. It was basically saying that Labour played a blinder, because they basically did the fracking vote.
Yeah, they basically forced a no confidence vote without having a no confidence vote.
Yep. And the interesting thing is, do you know who, I don't know the full list, but do you know some of the names on the Tories who abstained? Like, the thing passed, which it still has to go through another process, so whether or not it'll actually happen. So basically the bill from the Labour Party was to basically say, yeah, fracking is not a thing we want anymore, and we're going to ban it. I'm sure the bill was a bit more complicated than that, but...
Yeah. No, I didn't see who had abstained.
Well, amongst others, Boris Johnson and Theresa May. Which means, had Truss made good on her threat to remove the whip, she would be removing the whip from 2 former PMs, and I don't think that's a good look.
No, that's not a good look at all.
So yeah, it's been kind of... And now there's a race. And obviously, you heard Boris is throwing his hat in the ring.
Yes, I had heard.
Thoughts?
God help us.
I don't think he... Well, because the party's already fractured.
Yeah.
And I think the sensible ones, and yes, there are actually a couple of sensible ones.
Yes.
They know it'll be a bad idea.
Oh, yeah.
And the threshold for being able to be a nominee is 100 people backing you.
Yeah, he's not going to
Which
get
means,
that.
No. Also, it means because there's 350 something members, there can only be 3 potential candidates, which does keep the field a bit more narrow. So obviously, Penny Mordaunt is the name that's coming up. Obviously, Rishi Sunak's coming up.
I would not be at all surprised if Jeremy Hunt doesn't get in.
Apparently, he's not putting his hat in.
Oh, really?
He's claimed he's not putting his hat in. We'll see what happens.
I'm actually surprised about that.
To be honest, I mean, I don't obviously vote Tory, but
No, I don't either.
when the when Johnson's race was happening, Hunt was second,
Yes.
and he would have been my preferred candidate, to be honest.
Compared to Boris, yeah. Yeah.
He at least seems to know something of what he's doing.
Yes. I don't like what he's doing, but at least he seems to know how to do it.
So it is quite remarkable. Another interesting statistic that came out is that, and I haven't actually fully looked into this because I don't know how it fits in with the Wilderness years, but Liz Truss will be the first Prime Minister to not have had an episode of Doctor Who aired during their term.
Love it. I love it.
Which is interesting because she has officially stepped down as Prime Minister, so I guess you can no longer refer to her as Prime Minister Liz Truss. However, she is holding the seat.
Yes.
She's keeping the seat warm
Yes.
for next week. And the next Doctor Who episode is on this Sunday.
Yes, it is. The Power of the Doctor.
And I'm looking forward to that. So, are they only counting it as official PM? Because technically she is still in the house until next week.
Yes, that's probably what they're doing.
But it's still interesting, though.
It is. That's a very...
It's a weird one that somebody figured out, but it is interesting.
Yes. Very interesting.
Because even Paul McGann got one in.
Yes, he did. Just
I don't.
a mess. I mean,
And
just
the
a
other thing,
mess.
I forgot. I forgot to look this up, so I will need to. So Cameron left. We had a race to get May in, and then she called an election, but she lost some seats.
Yeah, but she just
So-
about squeaked in.
Okay, so technically we didn't get to vote for Theresa, but we did get to not vote for her if we wanted to because there was an election. Okay, fine. I can't remember. Did Boris call an election as well? Because he did come in with he did have a 90-seat majority, and I'm like,
No, he didn't call one. It was the one that would have come anyway. It was basically one that would have come had Theresa May not called an early one.
so we did have an election for Boris as well.
Yes.
Yeah, we did. Right, that's fine. So we didn't technically vote for either Theresa or Boris, but at least we got a chance to not vote for them.
Yes.
Not with Truss.
Nope.
Which, to be fair, she... And then not, obviously, with whoever comes next.
Yes, exactly.
We need an election.
Oh, we've needed one for a while.
But
Because
now there's more of an urgency.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Even though Boris technically, had an election, because of the COVID thing, we never got the local elections.
Yeah.
So he never really had to put himself out there based on his record as Prime Minister.
Yeah.
So
But-
yeah.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but it was at least a little bit more democratic.
A little bit more, but it would be interesting because I don't think he'd have won his own seat.
That's the interesting thing.
And I think he'd have had to step down then.
Yeah. But it is such an amazing fuck up. Someone actually pointed out that she got into office
Yes.
and then the Queen died,
Yep.
which is sad.
Very sad.
Which meant she should have had her, and they would say, oh well, her honeymoon period is this thing. She's got a long grace period, and I will say that her bit during the Queen's funeral, she spoke well. It was
Yeah.
it was a good talk. She read her, she came out, read her extract, and it was perfectly well done.
Yes.
Kudos. And I even said at the time, like, she read her thing better than I think Boris would have read his thing.
Oh god, yeah. Boris would have been stumbling all over the place.
So, fair enough. when you get an extra grace period like that, and still manage to fuck everything up.
Yes.
You know, people were like, okay, we'll give her a little extra thing, but someone figured it out between the 10 days mourning, the 12 days of conference, the conference season, or whatever, however long that was. She's only actually done 12 days as an active PM.
Yes, she has, hasn't she? That's
What was
bad.
it, like 2-3 PMQs, if that?
Roughly that, if you want to count the mini budget as well.
I knew it was going to go. Well, one Quasi went.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
No, that became obvious as soon as people were like, okay, the pound's tanking. This is going on. You can't blame everything on Brexit. You can't blame everything on COVID. You can't blame everything on Ukraine. This is you.
Yes. Yes.
And they are the three big bogeymen. Like Brexit, as far as most people are concerned, is done. It's a hot mess. That's a discussion for a different day.
Yeah.
COVID technically still ongoing, and yes, we are still feeling a lot of that, and we will be feeling a lot of that for a while. But you know what? So is the rest of the world.
Yes. Yeah.
And yes, Ukraine is also affecting parts of the rest of the world as well. It's definitely affecting Europe.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not saying that isn't, but it's something that is affecting other people.
Yes.
Their money isn't crashing.
No. The only thing. The only way you can rope the COVID and the Ukraine thing into this is by saying, yes, but that is like a let's say the British economy is a room where petrol has been spilled. Petrol being the Ukraine and the COVID situation, which, yes, as Michelle said, is still ongoing, as much as some people wish to claim otherwise.
Yeah.
The mini budget that Quasi and Truss decided to do was the equivalent of lighting a match and throwing it into that petrol-soaked room.
Pretty much. Hey. So that was fun.
Yeah. Just crash the pound. Why not?
I'm kind of hoping it'll rally in the next month because I've ordered some stuff off Kickstarter, and I'm hoping that by the time that comes good, the pound will rally, so I don't have to pay as much.
Hope to God, yes.
But
And he, by the way, just of note, Quasi is the second shortest serving post-war Chancellor.
who's the first?
I'm just trying to look that up. But yeah, he made it in 38 days.
Wow. Yeah. Because that is something I posted to you. I was saying about the timeline of this. I was like, I posted that in the chat as well, and I'm like, hey, shit's happening. What do you think of this? So yeah, this is I've been like saying maybe we should talk about this for a couple of days now, and you said you've missed the messages, you've not been well, and that's fine.
Yeah.
By the way, how are you? I should have said.
I'm fine. A little lightheaded, but I've been dealing with migraines recently.
I've recovered from my overtime, but now my elbow's hurting.
Oh.
But otherwise, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the throat. I just did a weird sneeze earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah. But
answer to your.
She was.
I was going to say answer to your question. The shortest-serving Chancellor of the Exchequer post-war is Ian MacLeod, also a Conservative. He was appointed on the 20th of June, and then was discharged from his duties 11 days later as he had died of a heart attack.
Well, that's fair.
Yes.
Again, dying in office, valid.
Yes.
And you know what? I know nothing about the man. I don't know what. I mean, obviously, Victoria, so his politics may not have aligned with me, but he could have been a decent bloke. And having died of a heart attack, that's kind of sad for his family. So
I do love the fact they describe it as discharged from his duties.
that is funny.
The man dropped dead of a heart attack. I don't think that's necessarily discharged from his duties, but that's a very British way of putting it.
Yeah. But so she was lauded early days for her diverse, higher, top cabinet people. Like there was like no white men. It was all like women and people of various ethnicities. And I'm like, are they actually any good?
Yeah.
Turns out no.
Yeah, and isn't this meant to be the anti-woke party, the anti-diverse party? Like, what the hell? Talk about schizophrenic.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, and they were, because again, early days, and there's some stuff that Phil from Different Bias was saying. Like, she kept trying to debate on cultural war issues, and people were like, nobody cares.
No. Like,
where did that even come from?
Oh.
I know where it came from. It's just, if you go back far enough, it's the same argument that basically happened, which calls pro-life. So pro-life is actually younger than the Happy Meal.
Yep.
And it's essentially, for the very, very short version of it is the party of the time, the Republicans, needed a certain voting bloc. They threw a whole bunch of shit at the wall, and that's the one that stuck.
Yes.
That's the very short version. The longer version is actually a bit more interesting, but yeah. And I guess it's someone's been making it stick with cultural war issues because someone decided to make trans bogey people, which again is a whole other debate that I could go on to a rant on, and I'm not going to.
Yeah, that would take too long to get into.
Later.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so people like, we don't care about your cultural war issues. They're not our problem.
No, they're not.
And this is the thing. I'm not going to go too deep into it now, but your average person either doesn't know enough or doesn't care enough about various shades of the LGBTQI rainbow.
No, exactly.
And they're like, oh right, you're trans, you're doing this, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And don't forget, one of our highest ranked comedians is trans. One of our and one of our award-winning artists is. Are they actually? I'm completely blanking on their name, but very extravagant artists. Won prizes all over the place. Yeah, I don't know if they've actually identified as trans or not, but shoot, can't remember the name now. But yeah, it's nobody cares.
No.
At best, they're indifferent.
Yes, exactly.
They're either indifferent or are paying enough attention to say, why are you caring? Why should I care about this?
Yes, exactly. It either comes down on indifferent, or are they affecting anybody? No. Then what's the problem?
Yeah.
Like, it's this.
Yeah, basically.
Very, very small little vocal minority who, for some reason, have a bee in their bonnet about it.
Yes. But to get a little bit back on the main topic we're here for, so you're aware of the recent polling, which, yes, polling there is biases and stuff, but the aggregates seem to be that if there was a vote held on like the day the given poll was done, you'd be like looking at anywhere between 4 to 1 Tories after the counting's done.
Yeah. We're seeing the death of the Tory party, I think, in this country.
It'd be interesting, because I was thinking about this in the shower. I was like, so Labour would be top.
Yes.
Then you'd probably have the Lib Dems.
Yes.
Possibly doing either an informal or formal coalition with the Greens. Then you've also got SNP and Plaid Cymru, which are the Welsh, Scottish and Welsh,
yeah,
respectively.
You'd have Sinn Féin.
The closest.
You'd have Sinn Féin with the 5 they always seats they always win, but they never sit in.
Yeah, and then you've got the DUP, who are also Irish.
Who are also basically on the downward slide, because of.
But they're also the closest you're going to get to a right-wing majority, and
yep,
they don't have any power.
No.
So, potentially, whether it's like in the next couple of months or a year or two, because no way the Tories are coming back from this.
No.
And maybe it won't be as dramatic as only having like 4 seats. Maybe they'll manage to get to double digits. But you could still be looking at a potential government that is parliament that is basically Labour on one side, Lib Dems and Greens on the other side, and maybe a couple of Tories trying to squeeze in at the back.
Yes. You could be looking
And
at...
that's going to be interesting.
We could
Sorry,
be
you
looking...
carry
I was going to say, we could be looking at a very centrist, leftist parliament.
Yeah. We might actually get some shit done at last.
I know.
It's quite scary.
In a good way, but yes. I'm just going to say, nationalise the friggin' railway and the power companies.
Renationalise the railways.
Oh, Christ, yes. And the power companies.
Yes, I agree with you, but it's definitely with rail companies. Fucking Maggie.
Oh, God help me, that bloody bitch. Sorry, but she, that woman, she's got a lot to answer for.
Yeah. She absolutely does.
And the fact Liz Truss thought she would be the third coming of Thatcher.
Also, we should point out that literally the day before she quit, she was talking about Grayson Perry. That's the artist I was thinking of.
Grayson Perry, yes. Now I don't know if I don't know if they've come out trans or not, but yes, I do know who you mean. Yes.
Well, there's a headline here from the Evening Standard. Grayson Perry on transgender awareness and working out what modern masculinity means.
Yeah.
According to this article, which is I'm not sure when that's dated, but they are using he, him pronouns.
Okay.
So, and the picture's actually in mask mode. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but Grayson Perry's who I was thinking of.
Yes. But you were saying the day before she quit.
She was saying that she would never quit. I'm a fighter, not a quitter.
Yeah.
And she's like, I cannot deliver the mandate. You weren't delivering. Everything you said was not the mandate.
No, exactly.
You did the national insurance thing. You did the Bank of England had to step in to buy the gilt, and which is a term I hadn't heard before.
No, I hadn't heard that before
But
either.
it's to do with the pensions and stuff. Basically, they had to save pensions. They had to save mortgages. I mean, everyone's looking forward to their pension, but who wants the mortgages? Oh yeah, the middle class.
Yes, exactly.
The ones that are now. I'm not saying there aren't working class people that have got themselves up and can afford mortgages and that. Fair play.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, we are talking more right-leaning voters.
Yep.
And again, I'm not. If you've earned your money, do what you want with it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not judging on that.
No.
But again, as I said, with the fracking issue, it's one, as far as I understand and I have learned recently, their manifesto was oh no, we don't like fracking either. May and Johnson are against fracking.
Yeah.
So why she thought that was a good idea? Oh, consider the energy bills and stuff. Oh yeah, and the threats to rollouts, rolling blackouts.
Yep.
At between 4 and 7.
Yep.
Prime time. The evening when the kids are getting in from school and just want to sit in front of their computers or tellies or whatever.
Yep.
My mum's trying to make dinner.
Yes. It's like she was determined.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like she was determined to have a second winter of discontent.
And I'm not saying it's all of these things are easy fixes. I don't have the solutions.
No.
I don't know what to do, but I'm also not. I know what not to do. I hope.
Yes. I think most people know what to do. Well, not what to do. It's like the fact she didn't even know that is the problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see Question Time recently when Brian Cox was on, the actor?
No, I must admit it's not something I watch on the regular.
I don't know. I don't
Recently.
normally watch it, but I caught this because it was on YouTube. He eviscerated her. Because and the only defense somebody on the panel could try and make was, and it was one. I think it was somebody off Dragon's Den. I'm not entirely sure. Said, well, you can't expect people not to be making mistakes. He said, yes, but we're at a point in time where they can't afford to be making mistakes.
And just to clarify, this is Prof. Cox, not the actor.
Yeah, no, this is the actor.
Oh, the actor.
Yes, the Scottish actor.
Oh, okay.
The original Hannibal Lecter.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
To be fair, I mean, either one of them could have made that argument, so that's why I clarified.
Yeah. But yes, as he said, it's not we're not getting her for not, we're not wanting her to be perfect. It's just a case of you can't be afford to making those kind of blunders at this point in time when the country's in this state.
Yeah.
Just
We don't know either.
no, we don't. We don't know. We're not. Neither me or Michelle is pretending like we've got the answer. That's not what we're here doing. But
We're just like, we should talk about this and we might as well record it because it gives content.
yes, exactly, exactly that. And also, this affects us. This is our country. We want to get this off our chests.
And honestly, it's as good a form as any to discuss it. It's like, for me, as a rule, and this is not something that was necessarily like big on my mind. It's just like, this is kind of interesting. It's like, I like to just talk things out just so they're out of my head.
Yeah.
And so this is like, yeah, I mean, I could talk to himself about it and he'd be like, but okay, I'm going to say this because hopefully this isn't going to be the thing now that we'll get someone reasonably sensible in, or at least, Jeremy Hunt's like basically turned everything around anyway, and I don't know even if it got voted on because it was all this stuff, to be clear, listeners, all this stuff that she said in the mini budget and everything hadn't even been voted in. It hadn't been debated yet. It hadn't been executed, and it still fucked up everything.
Yeah.
Just the idea of it, just the threat of it, just the thought that this thing could happen is what sent everything to tailspin.
Yes.
44 days in the job, 12 days actively. Oh, and the worst part?
Go on.
She has a potential income of 115,000 that she could draw upon.
Oh, God's sake.
I think you like that part.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Now, obviously people are saying that she shouldn't be entitled to it because, short term. You could do it like national insurance contributions, like when people lose their jobs, like when I've lost my job a couple times, I had to sign on. And the amount that I've been able to get and for how long I've been able to get it has all been related to my contributions. So the amount of contributions she made in the job should be reflective on how much she can get out of it.
Yeah.
That's just me being slightly facetious because I know it won't work that way. But
I know.
the specific wording was up to. So she might not get that much.
Hopefully she doesn't.
I mean, that might be me grabbing at a straw, but it's still interesting.
Yeah.
I think we've, unless there's something else you can think of, I think we've hit most of the markers on this one.
The only other thing I was going to say was, I don't know why some people were surprised when her and Quasi put out that pie-in-the-sky, whatever the hell you want to call it, mini budget was. Just look at the flipping book those two co-authored, Britannia Unchained. When they...
I didn't realise it was a co-author. I'd heard about it from her, but I didn't realise it was a co-author.
Yeah, hey,
no, I haven't actually...
You'll love this.
For those...
You'll love this.
Yep.
Co-authored by Liz Trust, Kwasi Kwarteng, Dominic Raab, and there's also another one who I've never heard before, Chris Skidmore, and Priti Patel.
Oh, fuck's sake. So what is the summary of this book? Because I think I've only ever heard the title, and then only recently, so I haven't had a chance to look into it. So what is this book?
The text sets out their version of the United Kingdom future as a leading player in global economy, arguing that Britain needs to adopt a far-reaching and radical form of free market economics with fewer employment laws, suggesting suggesting United Kingdom should learn lessons from business economy practices in other countries, including Canada, Australia, and the tiger economics of East Asia, such as Hong Kong and Singapore.
Ugh. Won't work, because we won't want it. Like, that, then I mean, some of the industrial strikes, I'm not... It's like, dude, I get what you're saying, but we're all in the same boat right now.
Yeah.
And some of us actually need to get to work.
Oh, this is charming. This is a direct quote. The British are among the worst idlers in the world. We work among the lowest hours, we retire early, and our productivity is poor, whereas Indian children aspire to be doctors or businessmen. We don't even have time to get into and unpack that arrogant, demented, borderline racist comment sentence. We really don't.
We don't.
Oh, and by the way,
no.
I don't throw around the word racist lightly, but that is borderline racist.
That is. Like, I can't say too much at the moment because of my current hours and the fact that the office I clean.
Oh yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat. I don't, But yeah,
but I've put in my hours.
Yeah, same here.
Don't tell us we're lazy. We don't like that.
No.
But yeah, it's a shit show. We've got no idea what's going on either.
No.
And we just wanted to talk about it with you.
Yeah.
But I did say I had a couple of other things I wanted to get some thoughts on, which shouldn't take us long.
Yes.
Before we do that, I will give you a little palate cleanser. So, have you ever seen the YouTube program Cinema Therapy?
Heard of it, but I don't think I've ever watched it.
It's a really sweet series. You've got a filmmaker and a licensed therapist, and they analyze media, basically.
Oh, cool.
One thing I will say about it is, don't watch it if you haven't seen the project they're talking about, because it will be spoilers. They assume that you've seen the thing they're talking about.
Okay.
So if it's something you're interested in watching, don't watch their video until you've seen it.
Yeah.
But I was watching their Moonlight episode, literally just today, and if again, this is why I say it, if you haven't watched Moonlight yet, first of all, do, because it's great. But also, it does actually spoil quite a couple of big plot points.
Okay.
In the discussion.
Yeah.
But you know the basic premise of Moonlight is that he has dissociative disorder.
Yes. Yes.
Dissociative identity disorder, DID.
Yes, I do. Yes.
I learned through this video. Do you know what a DID person is known as? What their personality, what it's all called?
No, I don't actually.
They're known as a system.
Oh, okay.
And they use like we pronouns.
Oh.
And I thought, my initial thing is, that's kind of adorable, but I don't know if adorable is slightly patronising. So I'm going to change it to it's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know that term existed, and it's like, that is really, really cool. And like, sometimes the person, because I was reading, the comments are amazing. Like, there's a lot of DID systems in the comments.
Yes.
So I'm reading through some of them. And one of them was saying that, like, because they talk about, it's the idea that, like, it used to be like, oh, well, the idea is to make all the personalities fade away, and we've just got one personality left. And, like, the therapist, Jonathan's used the term integration. He said, but he did say it in, like, oh, I'm not sure that's the correct thing. And apparently the preferred term is fusion. It's like, if one personality is not as needed anymore.
Yeah.
It can like become a fusion with the others.
Yes.
But yeah, so aspects and alters are kind of both interchangeably valid. I guess that depends on the system.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it was really fascinating, and like like the video itself was really cool. Especially, I mean, if you've seen Moonlight, then you're gonna get something out of it.
Yeah, of course.
But just I learnt a new term.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of awesome.
That is kind of awesome. Just also as a side note to that, that's also kind of awesome without intending it to be. I have a character in some of the stories I write. She's called Zissa Silverdale. And she has multiple personalities. And I didn't know that that's what they use, but she does refer to herself as we.
Cool.
I was doing that just because I thought that just makes sense for the way for her to talk that way when she's describing her various selves, that she says we. I didn't realize I did not realize that was the actual preferred thing. That's kind of awesome.
That is awesome. But yeah, so if you know someone with the ID, they're a system, and that's, like I said, I still kind of want to say adorable, but I don't know if that's patronising, so I will say awesome.
Yeah.
And I also like the difference between a psychologist and psychiatrist. Which, do you know the difference?
No, I don't actually.
The psychiatrist is the one that can prescribe drugs.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, which I like. What's the difference? And I think I haven't looked at it properly, so I don't know if it's a doctoral and that's why you're allowed to prescribe drugs, or like you can be a psychologist, but
Yeah.
I have a PhD, but not. But yeah, so yeah, I've been learning things today.
Yes.
Yay!
The more you know.
So that sort of delightfulness out the way. I have no idea what your thoughts are, because this is a subject I'm bringing to you now. Holly and Phil.
What about them? I haven't been following, so I don't know what's happened.
Okay, so you are aware of the Q-Gate thing?
As in QAnon or something else?
Oh, okay. This is interesting. And maybe once I start talking, you'll be like, oh, yeah. So, you know about the queue to see the Queen?
Oh, when them
States.
jumping ahead, or trying to jump ahead, is that what they're talking about?
Well, apparently they didn't. They were there on their press passes.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, that's interesting. What's your initial gut reaction to that then?
If they were there on their press passes, then there's no issue. Like, to my knowledge, the press were allowed to move along the queue alongside of it to talk to people. So,
Well, no, it's more they went into the gallery and that was what people were.
Oh. I think that's a bit of a grey area, because as I say, as far as I was aware, the people with the press passes were just allowed to kind of walk up and down the queue. So, I mean, if that takes them into a gallery, that takes them into a gallery.
Well, no. Well, it was more. The gallery was, like a press area, should I say, is more accurate. But people were saying that they basically jumped the queue, but they said they didn't actually go past the coffin. They didn't go into the area. They basically had like an observation bit at the top, and like at best you're looking over at the thing,
Right.
not like get a moment to pause.
Then there isn't. Then to me, there's not an issue there. If there's a section that's set off for the press, that's for the press. Like, and they've got press
And
passes.
people were like, oh, but they wasn't their names. Like, well, no, because the ITV said they didn't want to give away their deeds.
Yeah.
You know, all right. So maybe your more thing on this is going to be different, which is good. It makes for interesting conversation.
Yeah.
My big thing right now, and maybe you agree, maybe you won't, is that. So we're like how many days out now from like even the funeral, let alone the lying in state, and people are still talking about it. People are still going on about it. People are still making like bigger things.
Yes, there is, absolutely.
Like, why is this the thing you've latched onto? They've apologised. ITV have backed them up.
Yeah.
Why is it still a headline?
Because there's a need in this country to tear people down, and also it's Holly and Phil, and they've kind of been seen as untouchable for a while, I think.
I have a theory. Mileage may vary, and I welcome the thought. I think that some people, not everyone, but I think some people have been gunning for Phil ever since he came out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We're 32 days removed from the funeral, by the way.
Oh.
So over a month.
So from the funeral, so a couple of days prior to that with the Q-Gate thing.
Yeah. No, I think there has been definitely. I don't want to say publicly, if that makes sense, but I think there has definitely been a case of knives have been out in the shadow for Phil ever since he did that.
Yeah. So to give some context to our international viewers, we are talking about Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby, who are presenters of a very long-running daytime magazine show called This Morning, which was originally affectionately known as Richard and Judy after the original host, but then they went on and did their own Richard and Judy show, which I thought was kind of a baller move.
Yes.
Like, yeah, all right, fair enough. And on a separate note, is he going to give her some of her life back because you know, she's looking rough.
Just a bit.
And he's not.
No.
You shouldn't use your wife as your portrait, Dorian. So yeah, Holly has. I don't know as much about Holly's career, but basically Philip started as a children's presenter, like the first person to do Envision presentation on the BBC. He basically linked all the programs together and like became quite the celebrity heartthrob, and then went on to do Saturday mornings, and then out of nowhere became a West End star.
Yes.
That was fun.
That was.
And to be fair, he does have the pipes. I went to see him a couple of times. I saw him twice in Joseph and once in Doctor Dolittle.
Yes.
I do have the OST for Doctor Dolittle.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's always annoyed me, like even from then, maybe a bit younger, that if you're going to have a major cast change, maybe do another cast recording. Like, it was just a couple of minor characters and people moving around, fine. But if you're going to go for like a big, especially if it's like a really big known person.
Yeah.
And another more recent example is recent-ish is when Peter Davison did Spamalot, which was also really good. The only recording you could get was the New York cast recording, and he wasn't. I don't think he was the original London cast either. No. If you're going to get a cast with a big name, even if you keep most of the original songs and have the new person come in and do a couple of... Obviously with Joseph it's a bit more complicated. Spamalot doesn't have all of... not all of songs. All the songs are... shit, I forgot his name. But yeah, that king. You probably could get away with it. Like, I've got both versions of Blood Brothers, the New York cast and the... original cast with Stephen Lawrence, and a couple of the tracks, like the Kids Play song, is literally both versions are the same.
Yeah.
So you can do it.
Yes.
I know logistically it's probably a pain, but you want to like it doesn't necessarily. Yeah, like I said, if it's a big name celebrity, you've got more emphasis to it. But even if it's like you want the version that you listened to,
yes,
you saw. But anyway, that's a weird side rant. So yeah, basically, he did musicals, he did Saturday morning thing. Going Live finished. He and Sarah Green, his co-host, on that, both kind of took a break for a little while, did other things.
Yep.
And then yeah, he's been doing This Morning for however long he's been doing it now. Meanwhile, was happily married to a lovely lady called Stephanie. They had 2 children, Ruby and Molly. Molly and Ruby. And then he was like, yeah, I'm kind of hella gay. And like, one of the interviews, I didn't like read all the things, but like, he was saying that maybe I was bisexual, and people were like, well, you betrayed his wife. And like, do you really think he came out with having the discussion with Steph first?
Exactly.
And like, my thing is, now I'm not an expert on their relationship, obviously, but he loved her. He probably still does love her.
Yes.
There is no way, because at the time when he said they got together, because I don't even know the story, but basically, I think he might have, I don't know if it was for Schofield's Europe or for something else, but he was doing some recordings out of the country. She came in to house sit for him, and basically never moved out.
Yeah.
It was like, this is getting serious. So they were in a loving relationship.
Yes.
And I no doubt they still respect each other. So to say that, and that was like one of the things when he first came out, was like, yeah, and obviously people are concerned about Steph. But that was his like primary concern as well. Like, this woman has been such a huge part of my life, and I'm gonna just basically destroy her world, and that's not cool. But I can't live like this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so that's the short version with a slight tangent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think people have been gunning for him.
I think there's definitely been as I say, they haven't done it. They haven't been public about it, but there's definitely been hounds waiting in the shadows for the first chance to really attempt to rip him to pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And Holly, I think is just kind of collateral.
Yeah.
Or guilt by association, because she very much publicly stood with him.
Well, as she should.
I'm not saying she shouldn't, but I think that kind of put her in the firing line of the same people, because I think...
How very dare.
And I also think... I think there's a separate lot who are also after her for that, because I get the feeling there's a... And I hate to call them this, because they're not, as much as they try to present themselves as they are. There's a certain group of feminists who hate her for not siding with Stephanie in that mess, if you know what I mean.
Okay, again, we don't know what happened before the official announcement.
Yes.
We don't know that Steph and Holly didn't already have a conversation.
Exactly. But there's that section of the female population who, because I have heard them say this. I have heard, because I've got friends, and there were a couple who said this. That whether Steph agreed with it or not, Holly and her should have been against Phil purely on principle.
Why? No, seriously, why?
Yeah, exactly.
I know you don't have the answer, but I'm like...
Yeah.
It's like we were saying earlier about, didn't use the term, but we were basically using the term. So it's like, and how is this affecting you?
Yeah.
Which I always find is a good argument. And this affects you how?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, but how is it affecting your life? Like, if we weren't having this conversation, how would your life be affected by these people existing?
Yep.
Try it. It's an amazing argument. It actually makes... It actually does make them... I did have something else, but I keep forgetting what it is. So, did you have another little subject or thing you wanted to bring up while we're here?
No, I think... Because I've got that one I'm keeping for when we next do Thespian Talk, because I do want to get Gomer's take on it.
Okay, fair enough.
Because I think he'll have fun ripping people apart for the entitlement involved in it.
Oh, this sounds fun. No, because...
But no, it's the whole Q-Gate thing is literally people who've wanted to take Holly and Phil down have scented blood, and they're going for it. And even though it's been proven that there's not really been a scandal here,
yeah,
they're still desperately trying to make it into one, because they think this is their chance to take them down.
Yeah, and it not working, because people are like, they took a couple of weeks off because it was like her half term and what have you. Like,
yeah.
But it's not the half term where they live. Like, the only it's a dumb argument, because I don't know how old Holly's kids are, but I know Molly and Ruby are adults.
Yeah.
So half term shouldn't affect Phil, but since they come as a package these days,
yeah,
if she's off, he's off.
It's well, it would, that probably not so much come as a package. That's probably contractual issues because um,
Yeah.
if Holly takes her holidays off at a time when Phil's not taking the holidays off, then that also kind of messes up their the contracts they've got with whoever are the stand-in hosts, because they'll also have contracts as well.
Yeah. No, that makes more sense. That makes more sense.
And it's like
also, on a slightly creepy note, who's tracking regional school holidays?
Well, I am, because I have to link up with my sisters to know when I can get down and see my nephew and nieces, because the regional holidays don't always match up for us.
All right, that's valid. However, who's like tracking a particular celebrity's regional
Creepos
school holidays?
Is the answer to that, Michelle? Creepos.
Oh, what was the other? Because I think it was kind of potentially. I didn't. I kind of wanted to talk about Eddie, but not because, like, basically she's throwing her hat in a ring, and people are like, "Oh, how dare she? How dare he do that?" I'm like, "Fuck off."
Oh.
But that wasn't what I wanted to talk about. It wasn't that, but I will say on that they're saying, "Oh, she's he shouldn't be doing that in an all-female category." And like, dude, it doesn't exist as an all-female category. It literally doesn't even. Next, James Bond, Henry Cavill, unsurprised by usurped by Netflix star Tom Hardy, slips away.
I thought they hadn't announced the next James Bond yet.
No, that's a very confusing. Actually, there is something kind of funny that I found. Hang on a second, I'll put it into the green room. Because this is funny. Text chats. And I didn't look at the article because look who it's from. But yeah. Go check out the green room, and you can read it out to the lovely people.
Charles' coronation may be cancelled as royal family enters crisis, claims astrologer.
And it's the Express.
Oh, of course, it's the bloody Express.
Actually, yeah. And also, I just Ben looks done with it already. Before you even start, Ben's done with it.
I was going to say, nice picture of Ben Sisko below it.
Yeah.
I believe that's just. I believe that picture is taken just before he's about to read Elam Garrick, the Riot Act, for some other another scheme gone wrong on DS9.
I must admit I haven't finished watching DS9 yet, but the one thing we didn't actually talk about was the lettuce, because we touched on it and we didn't discuss it.
Oh yes.
So, the Daily Star, which is a tabloid, it's not something I've put much credence into, although I think they're a bit more left than some of them, but
it's
essentially
it's a left wing rag. Let's just it
is a rag.
It's the gutter press. It's the left wing equivalent of the Sun.
Yes. So they bought a lettuce, and apparently it was like the cheapest they could find. I don't know if they checked all the supermarkets or the cheapest they could find in their nearest. And they basically said, which is going to last longer, this a lettuce or this leafy green vegetable that we just bought? And the lettuce. Some of the headlines were quite funny because I've said before, I work at Smith News, which is basically the local distribution for all the newspapers, so I get to read the headlines. And like, well, it's on leaf support.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's such a terrible pun, but yeah, they put wig and the googly eyes on it, and people saying it has more personality than Truss.
Yeah.
This is British politics. This is British reporting on politics. People were like gunning for the lettuce in the best way.
Yeah.
And apparently, it even had a live feed.
Oh, of course it did.
And they were giving it like they did a picture with it, give it a little like bottle of champagne and did like some party poppers and stuff.
Do you know what that reminds me of?
Carry on.
I'm
Go on.
going back a little bit here. Do you know this TV show Have I Got News for You?
Yes.
Well, back in the 90s, I think this is like maybe early 90s, they kept booking Roy Hattersley, who, for those of you who don't, for our international listeners, Roy Hattersley was a Labour MP. He was MP for Birmingham Sparkbrook for over 32 years. And also served as deputy leader of the party when they were out of office. But they kept booking him, and he ended up no-showing them.
Yeah.
And for the first couple of times, they got in they got in substitute guests. And then it was either the third or fourth time he did it to them. They basically said F it, and Paul Merton ended up having to be on the show with his teammate being a tub of lard.
I do remember that. I remember the top of love, but I couldn't remember the context.
Yeah, that was Roy Hattersley with Angus Deaton rather casually saying, well, Roy Hattersley has had to drop out again at short notice, so taking his place this evening will be a tub of lard, as it has pretty much the same qualities.
I do remember one of the more recent ones. It was after Angus left, and they had I can't remember who was hosting. It was one of the comedians, and it was like it was Nigel Farage.
Oh God!
And the comedian called him Nigel Farage, which I thought was kind of funny. But the following week they had was it Herring? It was Stuart Lee, and then the other guy, the one that's actually not a complete insaner.
Yeah.
But he had he was sporting a toothbrush moustache. And he did give an explanation,
yes,
which we'll get to in a second. But he basically said, well, you had Nigel Farage on last week, so I thought I would go even more right-wing.
Yeah.
But no, his explanation was that he was trying to reclaim it for comedy, because obviously it was Charlie Chaplin, and was it Laurel or Hardy? Or it was the big guy that
Oliver,
had it, wasn't it? Oliver Hardy.
Oliver Hardy, yeah.
And then
a certain a certain Austrian took it and gave it unfortunate connotations.
Yes. So that was the reason that because I remember like the next day or whichever day it was, my colleague was like, "Did I imagine that?" I'm like, "No, you didn't." Like, why? And he's like, "Because of this." I go, "Oh, okay, all right, there's a reason. It's fine." To be fair, I don't think I ever saw that documentary, but
no, I don't think I did either. But yeah.
So, have I got news for you? Not going anymore. I think Uji Flip's Mock the Week's also ending soon as well. Actually, Have I Got News for You ended, or?
I know,
because Mock is finishing.
Mock is finishing this. Yeah, this is its last season. I am just looking up now whether Have I Got News for You has been renewed or not.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, that is still. That has been, as far as that's still. They haven't made a decision on that, but it's not up for renewal anyway until 2024. So.
Okay, cool.
We probably won't get a decision on whether that's going to go beyond this contract until then anyway.
Yeah. Cool. No, that's fair. But so if you get a chance, I'm sure it's on YouTube and you can find clips and that. But yes, we recommend both. Both Mock and.
Just be aware, Mock the Week is a lot more colourful than Have I Got News for You.
Yes. I would say that. And also to keep, unless you had anything else you wanted to add about anything we've spoken about.
No, I think we've pretty much summed it all up, Michelle.
Yeah. Yep. Excellent.
Yeah, that's the state of
so
the UK at
it's
the
a-
moment.
That is the state of the UK at the moment. But to give a more positive thing, a quick book review. It's an older book. I recently listened to it on Audible. But Brian Blessed's autobiography, Absolute Pandemonium, highly recommend. It's an absolute delightful listen. Brian Blessed is a great raconteur,
Yes, he is.
and I had an amazing time listening to it.
Yep.
And follow his advice when you get to it, and stop listening if you haven't already watched Flash Gordon. Go watch Flash Gordon because it actually is a good time, and then carry on listening.
I will also, just a quick note on Brian Blessed. I maintain to this day, had Doctor
Yes.
Who not ended in 1989, Blessed would have been the Doctor sometime during the 90s.
That would have been amazing. And also listening to it, it kind of gave me a weird realization that when you hear Brian Blessed, what is your first thought? Okay, the second thought.
Yeah, exactly. Himalayas actually, because I do
Yes.
know he's been climbing a lot.
Yeah. Obviously, the first thought is big and loud and brash and wonderful.
Yeah.
It didn't occur to me till I was listening. He's actually an actor by trade.
Yeah.
He's not this personality that also acts. He is an actor first,
Yes.
which I hadn't really thought about or realised.
Yeah.
And I had seen him in some stuff before, but I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Brian Blessed turned up in this. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
No, he's an actor first.
Yeah. And such a good actor. He actually managed to cause what was that police thing he was in early in his career?
Oh, Z-Cars.
Z-Cars. He actually was such a convincing actor. He actually caused one of these episodes of Z-Cars to underrun
Yes.
because he was so convincing as the policeman trying to get a confession out of somebody that the guy actually confessed early.
Yeah.
That's
he
not a
does tell that story.
Yeah, that's not a joke, people. That it actually happens.
It's amazing. So, if you can buy the book. The audio book isn't an Audible exclusive, so if you don't want to give your money to Amazon, I'm sure you can find it elsewhere.
Yeah.
Big recommend.
Yeah.
It absolutely made my night. I was doing it whilst I was doing my overtime. I was grumpy, I was bored, I was annoyed, I was like, because I was doing 3 weeks of overtime all at once. And it completely lifted my mood.
Yeah.
So, you want to throw in a recommendation while we're doing that, or are you good?
The only thing I would recommend at the moment is if you've got I'm not sure what consoles it's on. I know which one I've got it on. Just let me double check so I don't give out a recommendation that's no use to some people.
Please hold.
Yeah. If you've got a PlayStation 4 or 5 or Xbox One, or even if you want to do it on PC, I would highly recommend the new Ghostbusters game, Ghostbusters: Space Unleashed. I've been playing that since it debuted very recently, October 18th, and yeah, I think it's good.
So not on Switch then?
No,
'cause that's the one I've got.
no, sadly not on Switch. But no, I would.
All right, cool. Well,
Yeah, I would definitely
I have
recommend
Steam.
that one, guys. If you want some guys and gals, if you want some a video game to kill some time with.
and does it matter if you've seen the film or not? Because I haven't yet.
No,
I've seen the original, but not the new one.
no, it doesn't matter if you've seen the new one. The only actors returning are Ernie Hudson and Dan Aykroyd. So
Ah, fair enough. All right, cool. So you've got some political talk. You've got a bit of You learned a thing, and you got a couple of recommendations out of it. I think we did good today.
I think we did, yes.
Govan will be proud of us.
Hopefully.
Can't say. I mean, I'm not saying we won't do this again because Govan was quite enthusiastic about it. But unless something big comes up, or we just we get bored one day and say, should we just do one because Govan's taking forever?
Yeah. No, I'd be quite happy to do this again for you, Michelle. It's been brilliant.
Yeah, I will say that we did make that joke prior to the most recent Thespian talk. It was just like, should a couple of us find some time? But But this is something that, even if we had waited for a regular episode of Thespian Talk, I don't think we'd have had the time to really dive into.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's not a knock on Scully or Gomer. It's just a case of, again, as I said earlier, in a bit more heated moment, it's this is kind of from our country that's happening, so we've got a bit more perspective on it than they have.
Yeah, that's fine. And I kind of, when they talk about more Americentric stuff, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to say I check out, but I'm not always as invested.
Yeah.
But yeah, this.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Yes.
Maybe we'll gather some silly stories, and maybe we'll have a silly season episode or something.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, so we'll probably will do this again, maybe at some point, but we can't say when.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, maybe once the next. Oh, okay. So I know we're trying to do a wrap up, but did you see that GIF-GAF advert? It's a semi-recent one, where it's like set in the year like December 2023.
No, I don't think I've seen this one.
It's quite a silly advert. So basically, he's like, "Oh, chainmail's thing," and the biggest influencer is this bonsai tree called Jeff or whatever it was called, and saying basically advertising the well, things are changing, but our prices are the same, and their closing gag is number 10 with a revolving door. And like I said, this advert's like at least 2 or 3 weeks old that I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. So
on that note, we'll definitely see you again in a regular episode. We'll probably end up doing this again at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe a year-end review. We'll see. We'll decide.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been fun.
Has been, yes.
So, do you want to promote your thing?
Yeah, if you want to find my ratings, I will hopefully in the coming months get back to updating my stuff on fanfiction.net. It's just been a couple of years.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm my linktree linktr.ee/Phoenix11. That's PHEONIX11. And I've got a couple of new unboxings on my YouTube. If you haven't checked those out already, please do. But yes, I have been Michelle.
And I've been Ricky.
And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was fun. Got to listen to them for according to this, is about 1 hour, 17, 30 minutes. So it's close enough to an hour and a half with everything in here, plus them, plus the bumpers here that I'm recording. But yeah, that they do have some good ideas, and yeah, I am open to the idea of them doing some stuff on their own with Thespian Talk for as long as it lasts. And who knows, with the show itself actually ending in a few proper episodes, maybe there's a spin-off opportunity. I'm keeping this in because I am not afraid to show my fuck-ups. To keep this, as a spin-off opportunity, it'd be kind of neat. I do kind of want to turn things into a whole podcasting network anyway, so that's something that's definitely on the table. Yeah, thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed them going off for over an hour on UK politics and other various things. And yeah, this took so long to come out that The Power of the Doctor has come and gone, and it is really good. Oh, it is really good. If you are a fan of continuity porn and Doctor Who, you're gonna love it. I think. It's sad to see Jodie Whittaker go, and I look forward to Russell T Davies taking the reins back again as showrunner and see what he does with things going forward. But yeah, thanks for listening. If you want to find me, my link tree is linktr.ee/Gomer2XX, and I believe Scolipendra also has a link tree, linktr.ee/Scolipendra. I believe that's what it is. All the stuff is in the doobly-doo anyway. But yeah, so thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time. And until then, this is Gomer, the Ranting Thespian, signing off.